morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco. Oh, we are not on. I'm telling you, let me delete Facebook because Facebook's not popping up. So let me fix this. So thank you for everybody who's on YouTube, and we will be on Facebook in a moment. And here we go. That should do it. I don't know why it does that, and then for a while it doesn't do that. So good morning, everyone. Those of you that were on YouTube, we thank you for coming on. You guys were there for the start. And for those of you that are on Facebook, it took a few minutes for us to get on because Facebook booted us off right at the beginning again. I think that's a glitch on StreamYard's end, the platform that we use to do the live stream. I don't think that's specific to Facebook, as much as I would like to blame them, I suppose. So good morning, Evelyn, 3 times the glam. She was the first one on this morning. And good morning to Milagros. We also see Gail with the Empowering Process podcast, both on YouTube and Facebook. So we really appreciate that. We definitely want to see more of a presence on YouTube because we just want to sort of build up that platform a little bit more. Let me see. Oh, we are now live on. So good morning. I am coming to you, Lori Monaco, the Badass Buddha, coming to you from Eastern Tennessee. Good morning to Esther. Is it Aye? If I said it wrong, I apologize. So good morning. And good morning to my beautiful co-host.
Good morning. Buenos días, mi gente. Ay, Milagro. Buenos días, Gail. I get so happy when I see Evelyn. I didn't see the other name that you said. Well, good morning, badass. Buenos dias. Here we are. Happy Tuesday. Because it's a beautiful morning.
And the irony is that Gladiator Guru actually got very sick last night. She was feverish. She was all kinds of sort of challenges with her body's immune system was fighting something. She sends me a text before we log in. She says, I'm unwell. And she's like, I'm feverish. I'm this. I said, okay, well, do you want me to do the show myself? And then all of a sudden I see her pop in. And the irony is this: she looks better than I do. She feels like crap. Like I'm looking at the both of us and I'm going, my God, I'm the one who looks like she's sick. And you look fantastic for somebody who's not feeling well.
You know, I'm glad you repeated the text because see, this year, my word before the year was over in December, I chose my word for the year was going to be discernment. The Badass Buddha and I had a conversation yesterday where I had to actually apologize because I wasn't using discernment and someone. And then it started creeping up again, somebody trying to pull the blanket of my discernment. But I didn't say anything other than unwell because remember, when we manifest something, the universe don't know whether it's positive or negative. So I've been trying to use that lately. I'm not saying I'm sick. I'm not calling any of that to me. But the best way I could say it was instead of saying I'm not feeling well, just unwell, feverish, and congestion because I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that shit near me. Esther Aye.
It's Mickey. She said it's Mickey. Esther is my middle name. She's going incognito this morning.
I love it. You know what? I love it. Use it. Work it. It's yours.
Gail's so cute. Gail says I look amazing. Well, thanks. But I thought I didn't look too bad until this one came on and said she wasn't feeling. I was expecting the worst when she said she wasn't feeling good, and she pops on like Slut Magic, and she looks like phenomenal, And I'm going, wow, like I really need to step up. I was all like proud of myself. I looked a little bit better this morning, and then
now I have the shirt, and I'm like hot. I don't know why I'm feeling hot. But yeah, so you know what? I am going to look as good as I look, feel as good as I feel. If I feel like I'm dragging, like I never get headaches, and yesterday was an all-day affair. And so I'm just, you know what? I'm not fighting it. I Vic'd up. I castor oiled up. I took some Propoli Epid from Spain. It's a honey cough medicine. And you know what? It's going to happen because, I'm not medicinal. Ashwagandha tea, elderberry tea, what's that other tea I said? And that's it. And then let it go slow, but slow is sometimes really good. Right?
Slow is sometimes good. And if we're thinking about something else, I have to sit and think for a while.
Yeah, it can be. All right.
It's been that long. It's been that long. So once again, we are in the month of January. We are rounding out. We only have 3 more days left of Viva before we hit February. I mean, this is just insane. I want to remind everybody that January is the awakening month. This is the month that we come to the realization where we are exactly. You know, a lot of people use January and the new year as new me, new year, new me. And they go on to these, I want to do this and I want to do this, and they create the New Year's resolutions. Now, the positive of that is that people are encouraged to make change. People are encouraged to be aware of their current situation and decide to make a change. The downside is that it usually is it's short-lived, because people only give themselves permission to make that change at that one time. And then once their habits start to creep back in and they no longer want to, it becomes very challenging for them to make the changes. They fall back into their old patterns. And then they say, well, I couldn't do it. I'll just do it next year, giving themselves permission. And then the cycle begins. And we've taught you that awareness is all the time. Acknowledging and accepting where you are in any given moment in time is all the time. Accountability is all the time. Making changes in your life is all the time. And just because you failed today doesn't mean you can't tomorrow say, you know what, I'm gonna do better tomorrow. A lot of times we'll, especially like weight loss is the most common thing that people want to change in January for the new year. They want to lose the weight, or they want to get in shape. And by mid-February, people have already, probably by the end of January, people have already started eating things they weren't supposed to eat, that they took off their list. Things, not that they weren't supposed to eat it, that they decided they were not going to eat. They started eating that. They stopped getting up early and going to the gym. And then little by little, they said, forget it, it's too hard. And that's where we have to always be very aware. So the awakening is admitting to where you are at this moment, and then deciding that I don't want to be here anymore. This is not the person that I choose to be. And so today and Thursday is going to be about emotions. It's going to be about emotional reactivity, emotional regulation, and it's about how to regulate your emotions. That's what we're going to talk about on Thursday.
Yes, but you said something that's really important. When we decide to do something, write it down and remind yourself. Why do we have to be so stubborn with ourselves? Oh, I'm gonna remember, or I know what I need to do. But you know what? Repetition sometimes is exactly what we need to do for ourselves. When we're trying to train our children how to potty train, or explain something to them, or even our partners when we alpha and shit, right? And we repeat it. Or when we got to remind our bosses or co-workers about certain boundaries, we repeat it. We even put sticky notes on the fridge. Don't touch my food. Why can't we do that to ourselves? Because we have a lot going on, right? And when we have that, we forget about the little things because we say, I'll get to that later, or I'll do this, tomorrow. And then it doesn't come because something else happens, and we have to discipline and control what we need to incorporate into our lives to be healthier and happier. And if it means that we have to be a drill sergeant for ourselves, then damn it, get those sticky notes. Leave yourself voice recordings. Call from somebody's phone and leave yourself a voicemail. So the next day or so, you're going to see, oh, what number is this or whatever. And you're going to listen to yourself, reminding you of how awesome you are, how important you are, how smart you are, and how kind you need to continue to be to yourself.
Definitely.
We have to stop We have to hesitate, and we have to listen to that inner child within us that knows more about us than anyone else, even though we've abandoned it or ignored it or just sat it in the corner for far too long. It's been observing us, it's been listening to us. So listen to that intuition. So stop, hesitate. Should I be doing this? Should I not? And listen.
Keep talking. I have to take care of something.
Well, because like she was saying about change, sometimes we have to pause on purpose. Sometimes whatever it is we're doing, you have to say, okay, let me stop. Like red light, green light, you stop. Okay, look around, listen, feel the air, feel the atmosphere. And because interruptions are gonna happen throughout our day. Interruptions are gonna just happen.
Like that one, like the one I just had.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you don't like pause on purpose, like, okay, why is this happening? And you're just rolling, and then you're like a hot mess. I don't even know what happened. I didn't notice, and I was watching. And every morning when we wake up, we have 24 brand new hours to the day, right? We get to live another day, and it's a precious gift. So we have the capacity to live in a way that we choose to live in. That these 24 hours are going to bring you peace. And with peace, okay, comes sabiduría. Because when you're in peace with yourself, you open up, you become the sage. The wisdom is right there. Everything you need. Every unanswered questions becomes very clear. But we have to love ourselves enough to bring that joy and that happiness towards us, that in those 24 hours, we are going to choose wisely discernment and what's best for ourselves. So how to make the most of your day's interruption? Pause. On purpose. I'm writing something now. I've been writing it since I got the news about my son's father.
I like what Elaine wrote. And Elaine, hi. I haven't seen you in a while. So Elaine said, I recently had photos framed of myself when I was 4 to 5 years old to remind me of that little girl who was joyful and had no worries.
That's excellent.
Before all, you know what? It's interesting. I'm so happy that you said that, because I was reminiscing about when I was a child. And of course we always do that. We think about, well, we don't always do that. I'm just saying that we sometimes think about if things were done differently, like if you had this opportunity when you were younger, because you didn't have it when you were younger, what would your life have been like if you had this opportunity? What would your life be like if you didn't have that trauma? And the thing is, we are who we are because of what did or didn't happen to us, right? But it is magical when you look back at those yourself as a child, when you were just happy and you loved everybody and you didn't have any hang-ups and judgments, and you had an opinion. But 4 to 5 years old is that age where you're still just really easygoing and happy. Like anything is a delight, anything is entertainment to you. By the time you get to be about 7, 8 years old, you start to actually come into your personality, and it's all been stuff that's been created by your life, from your experiences from when you were a child. Gail says,
well, that's sad. You just brought up a lot, and I'm like, okay, I can go back as 3 years old, and it was always violence, and I feel like I want to cry because I never had that childhood. I never had that. Wow, that just really opened something up right there.
Gail says, I once managed a team that was physically located in the penthouse of the office we occupied. This had a private bath and full kitchen. A maintenance person used to steal our food, so I purchased road apples that were packaged like chocolates and removed a few, put the remaining box in the fridge. Our friend grabbed one and ate it. We never had to deal with the stolen food again.
Yes, I like that.
I purchased road apples that were packaged like were they bad? Is that what it was? I'm not understanding. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if I was reading it wrong. And then Gail said boundaries. Boundaries should have consequences. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the problem. I think that, well, let's put it in our perspective. Okay. If you are not setting boundaries for yourself, if this is one of the things that you have awoken to, that you still struggle with boundary setting, then that's something that you have to work on. And then you have to follow through with the boundaries. Like, you can't just say, well, I've come to the conclusion I have really bad boundaries and I need to implement them. Then implement them. What are we talking about here? What are your boundaries made of? That's part of the awakening process. Because here's the thing. If we're talking about emotional reactivity, the reason we snap, the reason we react overly, like there's normal, sometimes we have to react. It's understandable. If somebody comes at you and you have to get into that fight or flight mode, you're going to react, and it's normal. But we are a very overreactive society. And so it begs the question is, why are we so overreactive? Because we have sensitivities, we have shit that we haven't dealt with. It all has to do with that. We also allow things to happen. And when we allow it and allow it and allow it, and then finally we can't take it anymore, and then we blow up. And that's where the emotional reactivity comes from. So if you have not practiced healthy, strong boundaries, and then you're in the process of implementing healthy, strong boundaries, you have to understand that number one, it's going to take time. And number two, you have to retrain yourself, just like Gladiator Guru said. So if you have to write it down and remind yourself, what are your boundaries? Then you have to stay steadfast, because you have to retrain every single person in your life that you trained in the first place with no boundaries. You have to retrain them and say, well, I have boundaries, and you're going to get a lot of backlash. And that's where you have to become stronger than you believe yourself to be, because you're fighting for yourself. This is for you. And so if you react a certain way, and then you say to yourself afterwards, I don't really like the way I reacted, that's not the person I want to be, then you have to decide, if that's not the person I want to be, then why did I react that way? And in the end, it's still you. So you could sit there and say, well, so because this person said this to me, and but it's still you.
Yes.
It's the hardest part the hardest thing I've ever had to come to the conclusion of with, and it's still a process. I'm still having to work through this piece is, what have I allowed people, how have I allowed people to treat me? And what have I allowed them to get away with? And it's still that way. Like, there's still things that creep in. Every time I think I have a hold of it something creeps in, because the people in your life that you allow to remain in your life that have been manipulative before, even though you have stronger boundaries, they're still going to test it. It's like they'll do, and this is like in the animal world, like they'll test it, and then they'll see if they can't get through the weight. And then they'll try another area and they'll test that. And then they'll test that. Smart animals do that. And humans are very smart. So it is about you constantly being awakened, is constantly being aware of how you feel. Like Gladiator Guru always says, feelings come to you to go through you, but they are necessary. We don't want to stuff them. We don't want to say, well, that invalidate ourselves. We need to say, okay, I'm feeling this way. Why? Am I bringing it on more than it needs to be? Is it a legitimate feeling? If somebody comes down at you and treats you lousy, you have every right to be upset, pissed off, sad. There's nothing wrong with that. And we could say, yes, we allowed it to happen. But sometimes, like I said, it takes you by surprise. You had the boundary up, and then they found another way in. Now you're like, oh, damage control. I got to go patch that boundary up now. I got to go patch that. So this is what we're talking about. And that's today's title is literally just explicits. That's what the title is. It's emotional reactivity, frequency, and intensity, and emotional arousal and emotional regulation.
It's yes. But let me tell you something. This is what I've learned. And yeah, people will be, people are persistent. And if they would only turn that persistence into something that's going to help them grow, the world would be a better place.
Exactly. Right? Amen.
But they don't. That's so it's right. Up to you to decide what it is. And you know what? sometimes I put myself in situations to test to see how far have I grown, which was recently when I had to go to a wake where I was the X2. And I put my red lipstick in and I walked in there because I know who I am. And yes, I got a lot of looks, but I went up to people and I was the magnificent presence that I am. And anything could have popped off, which I'm sure people had a grandiose time afterwards. The thing is, I needed to test myself because
Right.
I have no control over who's going to try to come at me, what they're going to say, how they're going to walk away. I don't, you know why? Because I've reached a point where fuck you, fuck that, fuck everything that's outside of me that's going to hinder me. You know why? Because if you're coming at me a certain way, then you do not matter in my life, right? Because people who love you, people who honor you, people who just, what's that word? I'm trying to find that word. They're not going to come at you a certain way. But there's people who don't know you. And I always say, if they don't know, they better ask somebody. Because I'm not the right place, right time type of person. I'm like, you bold to do it here, then we're going to dance. Because then that eliminates anything off my mind. Oh my God. So this person did this, and you know how then the negativity starts. No, you do it here, you get it here. And that's how I've always lived my life. So I never carry shit unnecessarily. So it is explicit, but you have to learn not to lose your inner peace for anything whatsoever, even if your whole world seems upset. And that's by St. Francis. You cannot lose your inner peace because that is yours. The only way somebody makes you lose your cool or your peace or your calm, allowing them to. That's because you're not standing on solid foundation. And I know if I'm sounding rough, I'm sorry. But when somebody can come and knock you on your ass, were you really standing firm? That's what you gotta ask yourself.
That's
Were you really standing firm? Were you really strong in your convictions of self? Or you just had a facade of being, okay, I'm aware, I'm awakened, I'm acknowledging, I'm accountable. And then somebody comes and says, you're stupid, and you fall over. Okay? So I love Billie Holiday. Love it. When I'm painting Gail, Nina Simone, Billie Holiday, they're always playing and I have LPs of them because I love the needle. Shh, shh, when it's on the vinyl.
You love the needle. That sounds
I love the needle on the vinyl. There's no other recording that can give you that unless you buy a CD recorded from vinyl records. So when life seems full of frustrations, upsets, and worldly woes, we got this, right? We've it's gonna happen because we live in a world with other humans. So atrocities are gonna happen, accidents are gonna happen, confusion will take place. Misinterpretations of what you said are going to be repeated. And as the story gets repeated, it grows into a very big, ugly demon. And by the time it gets back to you, you have a whole village ready out to burn you at the stake because
with the pitchforks and the
you visualize it. So then what happens? When that happens, because I'm sure it's happened to all of us, where by the time we get the story, oh, listen, I heard through so-and-so sister's cousin's mother that so-and-so is pissed off. And she said whenever she sees you because you said this, and that. And you're like, well, who is it? Because I'm going straight to the roof. But there's people who won't do that. They'll like, whatever, I don't have nothing to do with that. Yes, if my name is in your mouth and is growing into an ugly demon, then I got to go and shine light on that. Because that's my piece. Everybody handles it differently, but I love confrontation. To me, confrontation is a beautiful word. It's of understanding. It's of self-commitment. It's about showing you my boundaries are here. So let's clear the air on this because something went left somewhere. And that's how I handled it. That's how I maintain my peace. That's how I invite my power back. Because before when I would approach a person, I said, listen, what's going on? I heard blah, blah, blah. And they're like, with the, with the attitude. Well, so and so came here and said this, and I'm like, that's not even true. That doesn't even sound right. When did this take place? Before you know it, that person was lied to, because the person who lied to her felt intimidated by me, so they wanted to make me look bad to people who spoke good about me. And that's what happens to all of us. Okay, so that's why I like confrontation. But when life seems full of frustrations, upsets, and worldly woes, I'm reading this. Feelings of irritability, anger, and stress can take hold of you, no matter how strong you are in your foundation, because you're human. You have emotions, right? But sometimes it's a fresh perspective to deal with life's challenges, reminding you who you are. Remember, life is full of frustrations, upsets, and here's the key word, worldly woes, where it would have you feeling irritable and anger, and then stress can take control of you. Worldly woes is the operative word here for me. That's why I read this little thing. It's called the aura of calm. Why? Because the worldly woes is everything outside of you. Outside of you. People, places, and things. Stress that you're taking on from all that stuff is unnecessary, because it's not yours. You might be upset because of this, and I still can't watch a certain movies, and I'm telling myself I have to watch it because I have to be aware. But when your day starts out and you wake up and the first thing you do is you give praise that you are up, alive, and able to do what your heart is telling you to do, that's how you start your day, with gratitude, which we didn't even say our mantra, and I hate when we miss that. You start your day with gratitude. So when you're in that, what's that thing, that it's a big mesh net, and people are throwing dodgeball, right? Dodgeball, when people are throwing a ball to hit you. That's us every time we walk out our door every day.
There's no net in dodgeball.
I know. I was thinking about
volleyball.
The golf in the Bronx. Every time I drove, that's the building I visualized. They have it up on a roof, but they have anyway, forget it. So that's us. Every time we go out, we gotta dodge, even from strangers, people we don't know but might have heard about us. Not to brag, but we are popular. People are like, oh, I saw you on that show. So and so shared it. That's what I heard last week. When I was in Spain, we ran into somebody that we met the last time, and she's like, I've been watching your show, but I gotta wait a couple days later, because that's when the words in Spanish, I can put the words in Spanish and know what you're saying. I didn't know that. I was like,
I didn't either.
She says, I got to wait a couple days. And I said, how do you know about Viva? And she goes, oh, Iris sent it to me. So
the welcome wagon.
Yes.
Iris.
So what I'm saying is, people are watching you, no matter what it is you do. It's like this. Let me tell you this. You put a post on Instagram, Facebook, right? And you're up there with your book. Yeah, with the link for Amazon and your book, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm creating. You get like 6 likes. You put it as a story, you have 100 motherfuckers all up in your business. They just don't want you to know they're watching you. So they're not liking your post because they don't want to be supportive. But you put it on your story.
I never knew that. You can't tell when you like a story, you can't tell who liked it.
No, they don't like it. They watch it. They'll tell you how many views you got. Sometimes, I don't know if it's Facebook.
But it's viewed without knowing who viewed it.
Sometimes, I don't know if it's Facebook or Instagram. They'll tell you who actually clicked on it, watched it but didn't like it. One of them do. But the moral of the story is that if you put a story on, people are quick to see, oh, what she's doing. I don't click on everybody's story. I'm barely on, right? But that's going to change. But then I notice, like, wow, but they won't like a post. That should tell you right there. Facebook, okay. That should tell you, you know what? Don't stop because you got 6 likes on your post. Keep going. If anything, that should serve as ammunition that you got to keep promoting wherever it is. Do pop-ups, go to art shows. Social media is not the only platform that's going to help you sell your stuff. Show up in your community. Rent a table. Pop up like Slut Magic with all your articles or even pamphlets if we're life coaches or things you're making and selling. That's you. That's your job. It's not for anybody else to share your stuff. That would also bring you a peace because it is your product. It is your merchandise. It is your job to get out there. And I like old school. People like, oh, you haven't put anything on Amazon. I'm not going to sell another book on Amazon. I'm going to sell them out the trunk of my motherfucking car. Because I'm going to show up and I'm going to be present. And that's what I've decided to do. But you got to do that. You can't just take pictures anymore and just post it. Oh, look at this is me. No, I'm popping up like slut magic everywhere. I'm here now in Connecticut. And I'm going to make a trail. And I'm going to pop up. And even if I have to pay $60 to rent a space for an hour to have a book signing of a book I wrote in 2006. And I'm going to do it, damn it. Why? Because yo soy la Margarita. And that's how we got to think about ourselves. Don't stop. Get it, get it.
I want to mention something that Gail wrote here. She said, if someone judges me, I step back and realize they are reflecting their BS, and it usually has nothing to do with me. I agree, but I'm going to add something extra to that too, because this is what I have learned over the last year, maybe 2 years, that if somebody has if they say something to me, oh my goodness, good morning.
Say hi. Say good morning. Hi, she just ran down.
If someone says something to me or judges me or makes a comment about me, I take a step back and I don't immediately say, oh, it's their stuff. I take a step back and I first say to myself, does what they say have merit? Does it hold water? Is there something to what they're saying? Because they may be correct in pointing out certain behaviors or certain attitudes that I'm having, and I need to work on. But it could absolutely be what Gail's saying. It could be their own stuff projecting. So taking a moment to just evaluate the situation. Hey, is there something to what they said? Maybe just a piece of it. And maybe majority of it is their own BS, their own stuff, but maybe there's a little teensy piece of it. And okay, I'm gonna have to work on that. And so I was always the person that took the opposite, that if somebody judged me, I took it wholeheartedly. Oh my God, I need to change. Never once thinking that it's somebody else's stuff projecting, and never once. Then as I started to learn, that it's somebody judging, it's their stuff. And then I went on to that side. Oh, well, they can't say that to me, or they can't think that way because that's on them. They're just stupid, blah, blah, blah. Very dismissive. But then it hit me, like I said, about a year or two ago, to where I have to actually listen. Sometimes there is a message in that. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you after you've lived, you sat there just and with discernment and said, no, it's them. They're not a nice person. But the key is again, it's about awareness, and it's about awakening to self. If somebody calls you out and says, oh, that person's just a jerk and they're blah, 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 and then you're like, that's not me. Then you sit back and say, well, let me see. What's the reason they said that? Was there a specific incident that happened, or are they just saying it in general? And then if there's a specific incident, was the incident merited? You have every right to be a jerk sometimes. You have every right to be mad. You have every right to be assertive, aggressive. You have that right. So if somebody judges you based on that one moment in time, and you can honestly look at that and go, listen, I'm not even going to apologize for that because I reacted the way I was supposed to react in that situation. I know me, and I'm not normally that person. But then the next question should come in and say to yourself, now, am I happy with the way I reacted? Could I have handled myself a little differently? And what was the drive behind it? If your answer is no, it was appropriate, then you're good. But if you say no, they did it and they kind of hit me and they hit below the belt and it brought some stuff up for me, guess what? It means you have to do more work on yourself. And it's a constant. That's why we're always a work in progress. We get better and better. But like I had said before, there's always that person that will find that little spot that you still have yet to work on. and they'll get in there that way. And it's just like the foxes and the hen house. The fox is going to be relentless to try to get to those chickens, and no matter what you fix, they're always going to find a way. Even if you've thought it through, like, because I want to get chickens, I thought it through, and I'm like, if I dig a trench around the chicken coop, and then I bury the chicken wire for the fencing, and then I cement it, they can't dig under. Well, they still could. They could find something. They'll find another way. And inevitably, I will still have to go and check the fence all the time to see if they've gotten in or are trying to get in. So we are constantly a work in progress. We are always looking to one up ourselves and be a better person. And the key is to not also get so down on ourselves emotionally when we fail. Like if we fail to live up to what we had expected of ourselves, all that is just a reminder of, okay, be clear on the work that you still need to do on yourself.
I think when you know who you are, then you know who you are. You're absolutely right. And every day is a learning experience. I agree totally with you. Now, people say keep posting. You can get it. It's not about that I'm not getting enough traction. Is I don't want to go that route anymore. I think the Badass Buddha and I spoke about this a year and a half ago, didn't we? When we like really scaled back, and I said I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do that. I need to be more present in my life. I need to be the spokesperson for my art.
Yes.
I need to present. I need to be the opening act and the main event with everything that I do. And for me, that is sharing in with humanity, like going out and meeting people and laughing and sharing and did God give me a message today to share with somebody? Am I supposed to receive a message for somebody? So me being behind this computer, it was when I self-isolated on purpose all those months, and then when I just stood home, it really tore me apart from a lot of things. So much so that I said, I believe I healed so much in my self-isolation that I ended up not liking people or being around them. And then I discovered that even if two people were gathered next to me, like at my niece's house, and they were talking, the sound of their chatter felt like nails on a chalkboard to me. Like that white noise, when the networks went out when we were younger, and I was like, what is happening? What is happening? And then I just shelved it. Then I came back to it not too long ago, and I had this conversation with the Badass, and I said, I think that when I self-isolated, I took that healing so deep. And the thing is, I didn't even know I was healing because I felt like nothing. Like I don't want to be bothered by nobody. And it wasn't until like maybe 5 months after the self-isolation, when I was at work, that it started hitting me. I started going up the steps, realizing, wow, I reacted different to this. And so the healing came upon me in the moments where I was being tested of my survivor mode self or this new and improved 2.0 Margarita. And so I don't want to sit behind the screen. I don't want to be picking the perfect pictures to evaluate me and my product. I'm going to, but it's not going to be a 50% endeavor. I really want to be out there. I want to listen to people's voices. I want to smell their perfume. I want to see the different hairstyles that's going on. Just because it's in your size, you don't need to wear it. Oh my God, that looks so beautiful on you. I am craving that in my life right now. So that's why I decided to go more of selling it out the trunk of my car. But I will be posting. And I think when you know exactly who you are and what you want and how you're going to go about doing it, you're going to get oppositions. People are going to have opinions. There's going to be many suggestions. But then, and you listen to them all, because you might be missing something, because we are flawed humans. But I think that we should listen. We should observe. And there's things that Evelyn might tell me that I'm going to say, oh, I like that one line she said. Maybe I'll contemplate that and put it in my drawer. And then the Badass will tell me something, and I'll take that line or maybe the whole phrase and come here and put it in my drawer and go on. And then that's how you learn. Okay, so I'm thinking this, but I was lacking that. So thank you for sharing. And that's how the world goes round and round in peace and self-joy, where we're sharing happiness. Because there's no competition, there's no ill will, there's no jealousy. It's just, I'm doing this, but I have this extra. Can you use it? No, I can't, but I may know. Someone mentioned it. And that's how we're not in competition. You know, no one's a threat to us. They are a compliment to us as we are to them when it comes to business women. Let's start thinking that way.
I want to mention too what Gail said with what I was talking about. She said, evaluate each encounter, but know that every interaction has two components, me and them. We bring our own story to the table. Absolutely. Well, and that's the whole point, is that we bring our own story and they bring their own story. And we can't fix them. We can only fix ourselves. And when it comes down to whether you're having a one-on-one encounter or group encounter, it's how you feel emotionally. If you're pissed off about something, if you're sad about something, if you're indifferent, if you're feeling contempt, and in other words, the negative, the lower vibrational types of energy. Ask yourself, where's that coming from? Like, why am I feeling this way? If you walk into a room and you feel like uncomfortable and you're like, ugh, I don't want to be around anybody, blah, blah, blah. Ask yourself, is it maybe the collective energy of everybody in there? Maybe it's you.
Or maybe it's your insecurities.
Exactly.
And you're blaming it on the people in the room.
Exactly.
Those are hypocrites. And mi gente, my tribe, don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a hypocrite and lying to yourself and then pretending you got it all together. And then you're going somewhere and you're pointing fingers at everybody when the weakest link in the room is you. Call yourself out on shit. Yep. Everybody does have a story to tell, but which story are you going to tell? The victim one, or how you got the hell up out of there? That's also a choice. And everything begins and ends with you. You choose what crowd to be with. You choose what room to walk in. You choose to, I'm going to go here, but if I don't like the energy, if it's not vibrating at my frequency, I'm the fuck out of there. It's all up to you. There's no one that makes or breaks you, but you choose. It's always. And you know what? It may seem impossible, but you can get it done. And it all starts and ends with you. Who are you? What are you going to bring to the table? Are you even going to the table, or are you so comfortable you can eat alone? What are you? It's not about, everybody can have fucked up energy. There's going to be haters and people who don't like you. There's going to be people who are competing.
And we can too. We can too. Everybody can have it. It's not just them. We could be walking in with some fucked up.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's up to you. That's why I'm bringing it back. So we're so quick to say something about somebody, but it's how you're handling that negativity. It's how you're handling those glares. Are you going to put Vaseline on you before you go out the house, so when all that bullshit comes at you, it glides right off? Or are you going to be the target with the Velcro where everything that comes at you is sticking with you, and then you're going to go home crying, everybody hates me? It's always all up to you. How you enter a room and the energy you're bringing with you will determine how people treat you.
This is really important when you are looking to really change yourself. Like if you've come to the conclusion that you are not happy, like who I am today is not who I want to be. Like who I am today, there's parts of me that are great, but there's parts of me that are, they're still just holding on to crap that I no longer need. Stuff in my past, I got to break free from them. I'm tired of living this way. When you come, first of all, applaud yourself when you finally come to that conclusion. When you finally say, I have had enough. Okay. But having had enough, saying it and then taking action, sometimes it's habitual. Sometimes we're lazy, and sometimes we just don't know where to start. But one of the first things that you can do is pay attention, be aware. Be aware of what your thoughts are. Be aware of what you're saying, what you're doing, and be aware of how you're feeling. And if you feel that the way you reacted to something was not good, like it's not how you meant to, like if you ever do that where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to this thing, and there's a few people that usually, drive me a little crazy, but I'm going to go and I got this. I'm going to be in a good mood. I'm not going to let anybody bother me. And then within an hour of being in the place, the whole thing hits the fan, and you just let everybody that you said would bother you, and then you leave and you're like, I don't know why I go to these things, because they just annoy me, blah, blah, blah. And right there, it's because we allowed it. Like that's what it comes down to. It's those people are always going to be that way. It's, you have to expect that. We sometimes go in there and go, in a little bit, in like, even so, I'm not going to let them bother me, but in a little way, we're kind of like, I'm like thinking maybe they're not going to be that bad today, or maybe I'm just going to be strong enough to be able to deal with it. Proven to yourself that you were not. They're not going to change. So you just prove to yourself that you're not. And the question is why? Why did you react that certain way? How often are you reacting that way? What's the intensity of whenever you react? Like the next time you see him, did you react with the amount of nasty emotions that you did before? Or is it, what were they calmer? Did you stay calmer for an extended period of time? You know, where immediately usually it triggered you, but then you were able to hold it off for 2 hours and then it triggered you. Those it's an evolution. You know, if don't get down on yourself if you lasted for 2 hours, then it started to get on your nerves, where before you used to just walk in and within minutes you were already pissed off. Yeah. That's a win. But it still just means you need to do more work. Or you say to yourself, I only know now that 2 hours is good. I can handle everybody for 2 hours and I'm good. I can enjoy myself. I can be around them. I can have conversation with them. And then 2 hour mark comes, I've got other
wow. And that's very smart, because you're learning yourself and, you know, your boundaries. But let me tell you, Gail said that she's really sensitive in a room when it's too much. I have to leave, when, you know, to energy. And absolutely, because sometimes there's a lot of different energies, a lot of negative energies. And if you're still living in la la land and have not become familiar with spiritual warfare, then you're not going to learn anything, because spiritual warfare is about the energies and the elements and the principalities of darkness that are out there. And you're only thinking about, oh, I don't like the gladiator guru, she's always cursing. So then you're never going to really get to understand the energies that are around you. And that's my take on it. I'm aware of anything, people, places, and things. Okay, so energy, you're right, Gail. No matter how strong you are in your boundaries, in standing in your foundation, there are places we don't need to be at. And there are places we don't need to remain in longer than the 2 hour mark that the Bible put us in.
That's the awakening. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a point of, okay, I really can't deal with these certain types of people. And you try it. The more you become, you go through this change of, okay, I'm aware that I can't deal with these people. I'm going to try. I'm going to see how long I can handle them, blah, blah, blah. And then you try it and you can get a little bit longer. But then the more you get to know yourself, you may also say, you know, it is me. Like I'm watching them and all the things that I was annoyed by them. It really is me. It's really not them. They're really not that bad a person. Or you could say, you know what? These aren't the type of people I want to hang out with. They just aren't. No matter what I try to do, I can't. It's not that I can't. I just don't want to. I don't want to be around them. And that's being honest with yourself. And so then you decide, you know what? I'm actually going to abstain. I'm not going to attend that event. Well, why? Why not? Well, it's not the type of event I want to go to anymore. You know, like you could, I've become very clear on the people that I like to hang out with, the people that I love to hang out with, the people that I can tolerate, and then the people that just are not my thing. You know, when we look at extremes, right? Like think of the most extreme opposite person of you, not like somebody you necessarily know, but like I like motorcycles, but that doesn't mean I want to go and hang out at a biker bar. You know, with not, I'm just talking like people who just like to ride. I'm talking like seriously gang biker people. They're not my kind of people. Now, maybe individually they might be really nice people. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying that I don't like loud music. I don't like people screaming at each other. I don't like, people behaving really wildly. they could do that. I'm choosing not to. So when we look at it in an extreme, it makes perfect sense for us to say, yeah, that's not my thing. If I go there, it's just going to make me uncomfortable. I'm going to get upset or I'm going to get angry. But then when we place it into our world with people that we know, friends, family, coworkers, bosses, that type of situation, that's when we have to know that sometimes we have to show up to some of these things. Like if let's say you have a child in school and you're not a big fan of some of the parents because they're, you don't get along with them and they're not really nice people, but you have to show up for your child. You have to show up to school events. You have to go to, because you want to be a part of it. So that's
But
where,
without the hypocrisy,
what?
you don't have to speak. You can be polite.
Exactly the point.
But people don't know the difference. You become a hypocrite, and then I'm sorry, where'd she go? You become a hypocrite.
I'm here. I just needed to take care of something.
Okay, so you're absolutely right. But you know what? This all goes back to when we started this, and it's like nunca te engañes. If you don't lie to yourself, you can pop up like slut magic anywhere. You can have 5 of your worst enemies in front of you. You can pop up and just polite. I acknowledge people when I go places. I nod like I see you. I know you're there. I'm keeping it pushing. But there's a thin line that we've talked about. You have to go to your kids' school stuff or not. You can have your partner, their dad or their auntie go. Doesn't matter. But don't, for the sake of showing face, you betray yourself because you're going to backslide on all the work you've been doing on yourself. And it happens. It's happened. Yes. You go to your in-laws and you got to feel that because you don't want to upset your husband or you don't want him to feel bad, or in between you and their family, you got to act a certain kind of way. You're being a hypocrite, point blank, period. Your boundary is to let them know we don't like each other. Let's keep it civil. How you doing? Good? Go sit in the corner couch. I don't know. Why even go? Go, drop them off, go in, acknowledge them. I had a previous engagement. Enjoy your moments and leave. You have to honor and respect yourself to the point where and your integrity is above everything. Yeah. Which doesn't mean you can't acknowledge somebody. Hello, how are you? I'm sorry for your loss. And go. You don't have to engage in a conversation. You got to pretend to smile. You don't got to do anything outside of what you know you need to do, because either they dishonored you, they disrespected you, they betrayed you in some way, or the energy doesn't click. It doesn't matter the scenario. What matters is that you're keeping to your integrity. You are not betraying yourself by being a hypocrite and fake, and you're walking in your truth. And we said, when you walk in your truth, you're going to lose people. You're going to have more people angry at you and pointing fingers. But it's all about you. You were born with a purpose. You were born with an objective in this life. You have to walk towards the path because you were born to change something, to incorporate something in this world. It's not so minuscule as to, oh my God, I'm 10 pounds heavier than I should be. Nobody likes my Instagram posts. We have to keep our integrity to figure out what the hell is our purpose, so that we can make a change, so we can take a leap forward in humanity, where we could create a life where our children are going to grow into, where they're going to be safe. So let me tell you, your day begins and ends with you. So are you going to hit that iceberg in the ocean, captain of your ship? Or are you going to find a way to go around it, keep yourself safe, and not entangle yourself with unwanted things, people, places, and things? That's it. Because remember, when you meet someone...
Oh, I guess that wasn't it.
Meet them where they are. When we meet anybody, it doesn't matter if it's the president of the United States or the king of England. It doesn't matter their title. Remember, they put their pants on just like you, one leg at a time. And when you look at somebody that makes you feel small because they have this title or they have this money or they have whatever, remind yourself they got to sit down and take a shit just like you.
And remind yourself, it's not them making you feel that way. It's you allowing
That's why you got to
yourself.
remind yourself. I
Yeah.
never talk about people like it's their fault. It's you. You're viewing them as being better than you, stronger than you, more important than you. That's why I said, don't matter if it's the president of the United States or the king of England. It don't matter their title. I don't care if it's the Pope. He still got to put his pants on one leg at a time.
Right.
So it's really up to you to decide what your value is. How are you vibrating? At what level are you vibrating? Where's your frequency at all times? That's you walking in your truth. So you can come up against anybody. People lying about you, who gives a shit? I'm not here. It's not my business what people say about me. So you don't care. I don't care. If they saying it in my presence, of course I'm gonna pop up like, what? Say that again? Because that's just who I am. But if I'm not present, then it doesn't matter. So we have to stop, pause, reflect, right? Acknowledge where we're at, what we've done, what we're continuing to do, and what we need to make ourselves better. That's it. Go ahead, badass. It's all on you.
You sure?
I swear to God.
Okay. Somebody who said I am of ill. What did you say this morning? You didn't. I'm like, boy,
Well, you know that always happens.
I like what this is very key. What Gail said. She put at the end of the day, ask, have I made choices that align with who I am today? Yes, that's perfect. Which is lovely because my name of my business is Align Wellness Center. But it's true. That's the best question to ever ask yourself is, have I made choices that align with who I am today? And then then you have to go and be honest about it. You can't lie to yourself. So, yes, I did this and justify. You have to literally think it through. Nobody's judging you except you. You're the only one sitting in that. So you have to say, and if you have to admit, no, I wasn't. Like I did things that did not align with me today. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? React that way, whatever it is. And what did I learn from it? And what can I do better?
Somebody's here, John.
So it's about, it's about, again, constantly paying attention to yourself. How did you react today? If somebody triggers you, I know how much Gladiator Guru loves that word, and I actually don't like that word anymore either. But if somebody triggers you, if you're saying like, well, I got triggered today, why did you get triggered? Was it that person? What is it about that person? What is it about the situation? And what it really always comes back to, it is all about you. The reason you're triggered because you have not resolved something. The reason you're sensitive to something is because you have not fully dealt with it for whatever your reason. And instead of projecting the anger to somebody else and saying it's their fault, they said this, they said that, you have to say, why did I lose my shit? Why did I let them get to me? If I said I want to have this type of personality, I want to be this type of person, I want to stay calm, and if somebody says something, I want to have control of my emotions, and then all of a sudden within a certain period of time the person triggers you, you have to stop and say, oh my God, I went right back. We went right back to the person that I used to be, that I'm striving very diligently not to be any longer. That means that there's certain things that I still have to deal with, and take it in a positive way, that you're given the sign, you're given the opportunity to review. Because or let's put it in a different way. What about those moments where you have gone somewhere and you knew other people, there's situations or people that would make you emotionally reactive, and you went in and you did your thing and then you left, and then you said to yourself, wow, I didn't react. It was fine. Everything went smoothly because you did what you needed to do. You did the work. You figured things out about yourself. You figured things out about the other people and the situation. And then you were able to move away from it and let it go. That's the thing. So be aware of your emotions. Don't judge your emotions. Don't make yourself feel bad. And also don't encourage your emotions. Well, I needed to act like that. They needed to hear this. Don't do any of that, because that's just adding to it. Sit with it. Was I justified to behave that way? Was I not justified?
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you need to put a person in their place. There's,
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. What I'm saying is that that's what I'm talking about. Because if you could walk out of there and say, I was totally justified for that, like I know I had every right to say that, you will know when you walk out of there. Because here's the other thing, right? And Gladiator Guru, I'm sure you would agree with me on this. When you know that you've handled yourself well emotionally with a situation, you don't walk out of there and question it. You don't say, oh, did I do that right? Or, oh, I know, like you don't reaffirm it. You just say, and you say, I did it. It is what it is. And then you let it go, because there's no guilt. There's no harboring any more anger. There's no shame, because you handled it.
All the time.
I handled it. That's
whether I got to tell somebody off. Yeah. Whether I got to tell, because see, no matter how long you know somebody, badass, and I'm sure people can agree with that, there's some people that will test. They're going to test your gangster all the time. And they're going to cross those boundaries. And they're going to try to spit in your face. Hold on. I'm sorry.
It's okay. They're fine. You can keep talking. They're really not blocking anything out. You muted. You're muted.
There's some people that definitely got to be told something, whether they're new in your life, which is better because now they're already learning the lesson, like how to handle you, because that's our lesson in life, is to teach people how to handle us, okay? How to treat us, because that's boundaries. That's building boundaries. But there's some people, you're right, some people I look at and they ain't even worth the spit for me to say anything to. Okay? And I just walk away like, I don't have time for this, because there's some people that you might not even meet again. But then there's some people you got to like, hold up. We're here again. We're doing this dance again. And then you remind them, or you just cut it off right there. Listen, this is continuous with you, and I'm not going to have you continuously disrespect me or act in this kind of behavior or do these things, whatever the scenario may be. And then you say, our relationship ends right here. That is empowerment. That is you being in control of your life. You are the one who allows who comes into your life, who stays, who leaves.
That's right.
And if you can't do that, don't complain to me about what someone constantly is telling you or what this scenario keeps happening. It's only happening. People are constantly calling you with their drama, dumping like a garbage disposal, all that negative energy onto you. Then you wonder why all of a sudden you're exhausted, you got a headache, or you want to fight with everybody in your house, and you think you're being a good Samaritan. You know what? Don't be Captain Save-A-Ho. Don't do it. Because you pay a price for it spiritually, and then it affects you physically.
We allow people to stay or to go, right? That's what you were saying. And it's also, we also allow them to play certain roles in our lives. And that's the other thing. You know, you could have a person stay in your life, but you move them to the way back. You know, they're bit players in your life, you know, where prior to they were like a main player. And that's another consideration too, is that if there's people in your life that you feel that you don't really want to get rid of just yet, but you can't keep them up. First off, you can't let them be the number one player. You're the number one player in your life. They can't have the main role. So if you've let them have the main role, then you have to move them to the supporting role. And if they're not going to step up and
they're an extra.
If they're not going to be a supporting role, right? Move them to an extra. And if they still cannot understand their boundary and say,
You're
no,
a
I'm going to
cameo.
step up and be the main role, then they've got to go. Then they got to leave the production altogether.
Yeah, they become a cameo.
That's right. Not even, maybe not even. It's like,
They
nope.
don't even make the cut.
It's like the show where they write off a character. You didn't even, they wrote him off like in season, like they were there last season. All of a sudden, there's no explanation. You didn't hear anything. Nobody mentions the person again. That could be the situation because, and sometimes we don't know this until we start doing the production. The only thing you have to know is that you are the main character. They're not, nobody else should be the main character. Everybody's a supporting character in your life. Now, if they've been a supporting and they're not doing their job properly, then you've got to change that. So this is all about like we've been saying, Gail's posted it, other people have posted, it's evolving. If you've learned more about yourself and realize this is not going to work anymore, you cannot have that much say so in my life anymore. I've appreciated what you've offered, but you're not willing to respect my boundaries. And when I'm around you, I am being reactive, and I don't like that side of myself. So this is the change that has to be made. And if they continue to test the boundaries, to ignore them, to continue to be who they were in your life, even though you've made it very clear that that is not what you wish anymore, and they disrespect it, then it's time to say, okay, so I'm giving, this is the way it's got to be. Either you do this or you got to get out. That's it. Because it's about self-preservation. We're all about self-preservation. The irony is that people who walk over other people, they don't care about your self-preservation. They only care about yours. And when you're a people pleaser, you care about everybody's self-preservation. You care about yours too, but yours is the last piece. You're just worried about everybody else's self-preservation. You have to stop. You have to say, this is not okay anymore. I don't feel good about this. And I don't think I'm being overly sensitive and overreacting. Now, if you are being overly sensitive and overreacting, because sometimes a person could think they're not being oversensitive. My middle daughter, she uses that as a crutch. She's always sensitive. She's always blaming on how sensitive is. And sometimes I want to smack her because I want to say to her, if I plopped you and put you in the middle of the country and said, find your way back home, you'd have to figure it out. That sensitivity you're going to have to get past pretty quickly. So we use that sometimes as a crutch. I think we for some odd reason, we're on opposite ends. Either people are too sensitive or people are too insensitive. We have to get in the middle and be like, you know what? I'm in charge of myself. I know, when something pisses me off and I'll react to it accordingly. I know when something upsets me, I'll react to it accordingly. But to be caught off guard and knocked off, like we were talking about earlier, like Gladiator was saying, where your base and foundation is not strong enough, and then you get yourself pushed off, that's on you. You're the only one that's going to pick yourself up. You're the only one that's going to rebuild that base stronger so that does not happen again. And that's why on Thursday, we're going to be talking about how to regulate your emotions, how to respond and not to react, but know when to react. React appropriately at the appropriate time, not just uncontrollable.
I do, but also on that note, sometimes there's no right time. And what is appropriate if someone's disrespecting you or someone is really like in your space, crossing your boundaries? After you told them over and over again, check yourself. And they still do it because you're in a place.
Oh, yeah, that they don't. Yes.
That's people. You're in a public space or you're in a family event. And so they feel that nothing's going to happen. So they're going to cross that boundary. So I love myself and I honor myself and I try to always walk with integrity. But there are times when you got to say, hold up, take that hat off, put it down nice and neat, come back and handle this person, because it wasn't once or twice. It's been the fourth or fifth time that they're doing this. And at what cost are you going to continue to live your life and running into this? It could be your sister, it could be your kid. And they're acting a certain way. And you know what? You keep dancing in a crowded room. Now we're going to tangle. And they get it where they do it, where they give it. And sometimes but it's discernment on what it is that's happening. You have to choose wisely. But let me tell you something. I don't have time for you to be following me around with your bullshit because we're in public spaces. You want to dance in a public space? Come on. I got the shoes. And again, discernment. But you know what you were talking about earlier, and I know we got to go, but about people who don't set boundaries, and they believe they are, but they're going to the opposite side of the spectrum on certain things, but then on other things they still need to feel that void of validation by other people, when you still need to feel like you're important by people, because people call you and they want your opinion, and then before you realize it, they don't want your opinion, they're just calling to dump all of their negativity onto you. Then let me tell you something. Here's a secret. When you find yourself resharing that story, I'm just exhausted, I'm tired, they're aggravating, and you're noticing that you're now repeating their story, that's because your cup runneth over, baby girl. And you can't handle all that negativity that you have allowed someone to pour into you because you don't know how to say no, or because you need to appease that validation from outside of you to make you think that everybody comes to you because you're important. Listen, I cut that shit off a long time ago. So when you catch yourself repeating someone else's story, that's because your cup runneth over and you need to re-energize, but nobody needs anybody else's bullshit. So start learning who you are right now. How is it making you feel? And then tell the person, you know what, I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear this anymore. I've been hearing this for a year now and you've made no changes, despite me sharing good things for you to practice. So then you're welcome, Iris. And so then you have to have people know, I ain't going to go over her with that because she's going to shut me down. Do it. Your life is at stake. You get anxiety, then you get stressed. You don't handle the stress, and then the stress is like, oh, this bitch gonna hear me, and then it starts breaking you down physically, and you can't ignore it anymore. And at that point, you're gonna forget how it started, and you're gonna continue that lifestyle. So love yourself enough to put boundaries for yourself. Keep that boundary up and name your building integrity, awareness, awake, acknowledgement. I'm holding myself. Accountability lives here, bitch. Put that plaque on your door and remind people with that sign, but introduce yourself to people as the woman in a solid foundation. And then take no shit. And we got to go.
So thanks everybody for being here today. We will see you on Thursday with Serenity Now. And for those of you that watch Seinfeld, you know where that came from. But we'll see you on Thursday. So thanks for being here today. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente. Sorry. Remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.